Before someone controls your time, before they influence your decisions, before they shape your destiny, they first touch your energy. Most people never notice it. They only notice the exhaustion, the confusion, the feeling of being pulled in 1,000 directions. But control never begins with force. It begins when you stop guarding what gives you life. Man, energy is your real currency, not money, not status, not words. Everything you do in this life requires energy. To think clearly, to act with discipline, to build strength, to stay calm under pressure, you pay for all of it with energy. And unlike money, once energy is spent unconsciously, it is not easily recovered. You wake up every day with a limited reserve, yet most people allow the world to withdraw from it freely. They let other people's moods decide how they feel. They let noise decide how they think. They let urgency decide how they move. And then they wonder why they feel powerless. Bands, if you do not decide where your energy goes, someone else will decide for you. This is not a metaphor. This is a law of life. The mind that is not disciplined becomes a playground for distraction. The heart that is not guarded becomes a storage room for other people's emotions. Slowly, without realizing it, you are no longer living from intention, but from reaction. And reaction is the language of control. Observe how easily energy is stolen. A meaningless argument, a comparison on a screen, a conversation that goes nowhere, a worry about something you cannot control. Each one seems small, but together they drain you, not violently but constantly. Control works best when it is quiet. When you are tired, you become compliant. When you are drained, you become impulsive. When you are overwhelmed, you stop questioning. This is why guarding your energy is not selfish. It is necessary. Many people believe freedom means doing whatever they want. But freedom without energy is an illusion. A tired mind cannot choose wisely. A restless heart cannot stay loyal to its path. If you are always exhausted, you will accept things you should reject. You will follow voices you should ignore. You will lower standards you once promised to uphold. This is how control enters, not through chains, but through fatigue. And when you allow everything access to you, you become available to manipulation. The world rewards those who are reactive because reactive people are predictable. Trigger them, and they move. Praise them, and they obey. Threaten them, and they collapse. But the one who guards their energy is difficult to control. Why? Because they are not desperate for stimulation. They are not hungry for approval. They do not need to respond to everything. Stillness becomes their shield. Energy must be invested, not spent. Ask yourself, does this strengthen me or weaken me? Does this bring clarity or confusion? Does this align with my discipline or distract from it? Every yes and every no is an energy decision. Every habit is an agreement about where your life force will go. If you constantly invest your energy into chaos, do not be surprised when your life feels chaotic. To guard your energy is to train awareness. You notice when your breath becomes shallow. You notice when your thoughts become scattered. You notice when your emotions are no longer your own. In that moment, you step back. You do not react. You do not explain. You do not justify. You conserve. This is strength. This is mastery. Understand this clearly. Whoever controls your energy controls your life. If you give it away freely, your direction will be decided by the loudest voice, the strongest emotion. But when you protect your energy, something powerful happens. Your mind becomes sharp. Your actions become deliberate. Your presence becomes grounded, and a grounded person cannot be easily moved. Guard your energy as you would guard your life, because in truth, it is the same thing. And yet, even when people understand this, they still lose control, not because they are weak, but because they are distracted. Distraction is a silent form of control. It does not shout. It does not threaten. It gently pulls your attention away until you no longer remember what you were meant to protect. Look closely at how distraction works. It fragments your mind. One moment you are here, the next you are elsewhere. Your body may be present, but your awareness is scattered. A distracted mind cannot build depth. It jumps from thought to thought, desire to desire, reaction to reaction. And anything that can move your attention at will can also move your behavior. This is how control operates without resistance. Most people believe they are choosing what they focus on. But if you observe honestly, you will see how often your attention is taken, not given. A sound, a screen, a message, a memory, an emotion, each one pulls you outward. You respond before you reflect. You consume before you decide. Over time, this trains you to live in a constant state of interruption. An interruption weakens intention. A mind that cannot stay still long enough to observe itself becomes dependent on stimulation. Silence feels uncomfortable. Stillness feels empty. So the mind seeks noise, not because it needs it, but because it has forgotten how to be alone. This is dangerous. When you cannot sit with yourself, you will accept any distraction offered to you. And whoever provides that distraction gains influence over you. Distraction drains energy in a very specific way. It gives you the illusion of activity while producing no real progress. You feel busy, but you are not moving forward. You feel informed, but you lack understanding. You feel connected, but you are not grounded. This false sense of engagement keeps you occupied while your deeper goals remain untouched. Control thrives when people are busy but directionless. Understand this. The one who controls your attention controls your priorities. If your attention is constantly pulled toward urgency, drama, comparison, and entertainment, your life will slowly organize itself around these things. You will react to what is loud instead of what is important. You will chase what is immediate instead of what is meaningful. And slowly your energy will be invested in outcomes you did not consciously choose. Distraction also weakens your emotional stability. When your attention jumps constantly, your nervous system never rests. You become restless, impatient, easily irritated. In this state, you are easier to provoke and easier to guide. A calm person is difficult to control. A distracted person is not. This is why cultivating focus is not just a productivity practice. It is an act of self-defense. Then many people say they lack discipline. In truth, they lack protection. They leave their attention unguarded and then blame themselves for being exhausted. But discipline grows naturally when distraction is reduced. When your energy is no longer leaking in all directions, it gathers strength. Focus returns. And with focus comes choice. Bended to guard yourself against distraction, you must first respect your attention. Treat it as something valuable, not something to be spent casually. Not every message deserves an answer. Not every thought deserves engagement. Not every emotion deserves expression. When you pause before responding, you reclaim a small piece of control. When you choose silence over noise, you reclaim more. Stillness is not emptiness. It is clarity. In stillness, you can see what is trying to pull you. You can feel where your energy is going. And once you see it, you are no longer helpless. Awareness breaks the spell of distraction. What you see clearly no longer controls you unconsciously. Means, if you allow the world to constantly interrupt you, it will eventually direct you. But when you protect your attention, you protect your freedom. Focus is not about forcing the mind. It is about removing what weakens it. When distraction loses its grip, control returns to where it belongs. Within you, within this regained focus, another truth becomes clear. If your boundaries are weak, influence will be strong. Boundaries are not aggression and they are not rejection. They are clarity. And where clarity is absent, intrusion becomes normal. Many people feel drained not because life is demanding, but because they allow everything access to them. Every request, every emotion, every expectation. When there is no filter, your inner space becomes overcrowded. Influence enters most easily through unguarded boundaries. When you cannot say no, others will decide your yes. When you feel guilty for protecting your time, someone else will feel entitled to it. This is how control disguises itself as obligation. You begin to confuse availability with kindness and compliance with peace. But peace that requires self-betrayal is not peace. It is surrender. Notice how often people absorb emotions that are not their own. Another person's anger becomes your tension. Another person's anxiety becomes your restlessness. Another person's urgency becomes your stress. Without boundaries, you carry what does not belong to you, and when you are overloaded, you become easier to direct. Third, a person who is constantly managing other people's emotional weight has little strength left to manage their own life. Weak boundaries also destroy identity. When you constantly adjust yourself to fit the expectations of others, you slowly forget who you are when no one is watching. You begin to live in response mode, measuring your worth through approval and your safety through acceptance. In this state, influence becomes control. The fear of disappointing others becomes stronger than the commitment to your own path. Understand this clearly. Not everyone deserves access to you. Your time, your attention, your emotional presence. These are not public resources. They are sacred. When you give them away without intention, you devalue them. And what is devalued is easily exploited. Strong influence does not require force when access is unlimited. Many people wait until they are exhausted before they set boundaries. By then, resentment has already formed. Boundaries built from resentment are unstable. They come out as anger or withdrawal. True boundaries are established early and maintained calmly. They do not need explanation. They do not need defense. They are simply honored. To guard your energy, you must become comfortable with temporary discomfort. Saying no may feel uncomfortable. Being misunderstood may feel uncomfortable. Allowing silence may feel uncomfortable. But this discomfort is small compared to the cost of living without self-respect. When you choose short-term discomfort over long-term depletion, you reclaim authority over your life. Boundaries teach others how to treat you, but more importantly, they teach you how to treat yourself. Each time you honor your limits, you strengthen your inner structure. And a strong inner structure resists external pressure naturally. Influence loses its power when it meets stability. When your boundaries are clear, manipulation fails. Guilt has no grip. Urgency loses its force. Expectations no longer override purpose. You listen without absorbing. You care without carrying. You give without emptying yourself. This is not distance. This is maturity. Opinions. If you do not guard your boundaries, you will pee out other people's agendas. But when you protect them, your energy remains aligned with your values. And when your energy is aligned, control dissolves. You move from being influenced to being anchored. And an anchored person cannot be easily pulled. And even with strong boundaries, there is another doorway through which control can enter: emotional reactivity. The moment your emotions control you, your power leaves you. This is because whatever can provoke you can also command you. Most people believe emotions are something that simply happen to them, but in truth, emotions are responses. And every response either strengthens your sovereignty or weakens it. Jant. Observe how quickly a single word, a look, or a memory can shift your inner state. Calm turns into irritation. Confidence turns into doubt. Focus turns into agitation. In these moments, your energy surges outward without direction. You speak too quickly. You decide too fast. You act without alignment. And once this pattern repeats, it becomes predictable. Predictability is the foundation of control. Those who wish to influence you do not need to overpower you. They only need to trigger you. A reactive person is always defending, explaining, proving. They are pulled into arguments that drain them and situations that distract them from their purpose. Emotional reactivity keeps you living at the surface of yourself, where everything feels urgent and personal. Depth disappears. Perspective narrows. When you react, your energy is no longer yours. It is being spent on something outside of your control. Anger pulls energy upward and outward. Fear scatters it. Desire leaks it. The more reactive you are, the less energy you retain. And a person with low energy cannot sustain discipline, clarity, or courage. This is why emotional mastery is not about becoming cold, it is about becoming free. 100. Stillness is the antidote to reactivity, not suppression. Stillness. Suppression stores energy in tension, waiting to explode. Stillness allows energy to settle. When you pause before responding, you create space between stimulus and action. In that space, choice returns. And where there is choice, control belongs to you. And Landuanya for Sparadris. Many people fear that if they do not react, they will be taken advantage of. In reality, the opposite is true. Calm awareness sees more than emotional urgency ever could. When you are not consumed by reaction, you notice patterns, intentions, and consequences. You respond with precision instead of impulse. This makes you difficult to manipulate, because manipulation relies on haste and emotion. Training emotional discipline begins with observation. You notice the tightening in the chest. You notice the quickening of the breath. You notice the urge to defend or attack, and instead of acting, you remain. This remaining is power. It conserves energy, it prevents leakage. Over time, emotional storms lose their force because they no longer find resistance or indulgence. Spin. If someone can pull you into anger, they can pull you off your path. If someone can provoke your fear, they can steer your decisions. If someone can control your need for validation, they can own your behavior. Emotional reactivity is not weakness of character. It is lack of training, and anything untrained is easily controlled. Bend. When you govern your emotions, you return energy back to its source. Your presence becomes steady. Your words become measured. Your actions become deliberate. In this state, influence has little effect. Control has no entry. You are no longer pushed or pulled. You stand. And from this steadiness, self-respect is born. Guarding your energy is not an act of isolation. It is an act of honoring your life. When you respect yourself, you no longer bargain with your well-being. You do not trade your peace for approval or your clarity for comfort. You understand that every time you protect your energy, you are choosing alignment over chaos, purpose over impulse. And self-respect changes how you move through the world. You become selective, not arrogant, intentional, not rigid. You no longer feel the need to explain your choices to everyone, because your direction is clear to you. This clarity is powerful. It closes the door to unnecessary influence. When people sense that you value your energy, they approach you differently or they move away. Both outcomes are correct. Many people wait for permission to slow down, to step back, to choose themselves, but permission is never given. It is taken. The moment you decide that your inner state matters, control shifts. You stop chasing what drains you. You stop engaging in what weakens you. You stop proving yourself to those who do not see you. This is not withdrawal from life. This is participation with awareness. Guarding your energy also means knowing when to rest and when to act. Rest is not laziness. It is restoration. A rested mind sees clearly. A rested heart responds wisely. When you ignore rest, your judgment fades and influence grows stronger. Fatigue makes even the strongest values negotiable. This is why discipline must include recovery. You protect your energy not only from others, but also from your own excess. As self-respect deepens, your life simplifies. Fewer explanations. Fewer reactions, fewer regrets. You begin to live from the inside out, guided by principles rather than pressure. And when you live this way, control has nowhere to attach. You are no longer easily swayed by noise, urgency, or fear. Your presence becomes your authority. Then understand this finally. If you do not guard your energy, you will be controlled. But when you do, you become unmovable, not because you resist everything, but because you are rooted in what matters. Your energy becomes focused, your mind becomes calm, and your path becomes clear. Mandaransaranst. May you have the discipline to protect what is sacred within you, the awareness to see what drains you, and the strength to choose yourself without guilt. Walk your path with steadiness, live with intention, and may your energy serve your highest purpose.